came in as a late arrival to the training for the Big Give, and was honestly not very sure-footed. Came in, I think, 2 days before the training, got a spot. And Mercedes and Scott, one, did a great job at making me feel that wasn't an inconvenience. And we're really just happy to have our org there to learn. And then all the members, I sat at a table, front table in front of the stage, with Blessed Sacred Heart. I'm sorry if I'm messing up that name. Some people who'd been a nonprofit for decades, and just the knowledge that I got, not just from the stage, but at that table, was fantastic. And walked out of the room, and every time I go to a nonprofit event, being a little bit more inspired, hearing other people's success. Give Gab, even outside of the Big Give, has been now our mainstream way to take in donations, grassroots donations throughout the year, teaching us that each fundraiser should tell a specific story. That was a huge one for me. The first couple years when I was doing a fundraiser, it was like, fundraise for our watershed cleanup program. And there wasn't much of a narrative there that we could give people a vision of what their money was directly going towards. And the direction of, even if, it's a detail like making it about a quarter of your year and listing those locations and telling a little bit about the locations you're cleaning, it will connect the potential donor to actually what their money is going to accomplish. Now, we go more pointedly with that. We're normally, because of that lesson, building project budgets and fundraising specifically for that project, telling our narrative, not only during fundraisers, but being aware of it throughout the year and cataloging it for people to see. I think that's probably the biggest walk away I got from the Nonprofit Council. My philosophy when I went into it, without too much knowledge of how they operated, was to go into it completely open-minded and do everything people suggested for me to do, even if I wasn't crazy about the idea. And our first Big Give, we implemented every single note that I took at that workshop. And we hit our goal. We almost doubled our goal. And that would be my advice. And it's the same advice I gave on stage. And then later found out, because of giving that stage talk, that everyone thinks that was too much. But my advice is go in and take everyone's advice. That will surely lead to success, even if it's overkill.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TNC Talks Non-Profit. I'm Scott.
I'm Mercedes. And today we have Charlie Blank, the founder and executive director of RiverAid.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. In March 2021.
Oh, that's when you guys were founded.
Mm-hmm. Just under 5 years ago. And, San Antonio was eager for an organization like RiverAid San Antonio, certainly.
Well, tell us about RiverAid before we launch into how you got into this organization.
Yeah, sure. So RiverAid San Antonio, our mission statement on paper is to promote and facilitate stewardship of the San Antonio River Basin. And if you've been paying attention to RiverAid, you know that predominantly that looks like trash cleanup in our waterways. And it's a sentiment that's not new to San Antonio. We've had Basura Bash for 31 years.
And who ran that? It wasn't its own entity, right?
It was interesting. It was Basura Bash it's a really great piece of San Antonio history, because it's an event that you would have thought was formalized and very well organized and possibly even planned by the city. But it was started by a grassroots group of individuals who cared about their neighborhood down on the south end of town before the Mission Reach restoration. And if you lived here, you know what that stretch looked like. So they got a Basura Bash together. It was one site. Yeah, it was just
and
one
just
site.
Grew and grew over the years.
And it grew and grew. But what didn't change was how it was operating. And it was operated by just citizens who decided to care. Now, they became more widespread, and eventually Basura Bash headed to the creeks, and many, many neighborhood associations, were benefiting from it, but it was still just run by kind of an ad hoc planning committee. And there were fiscal sponsorships, initially with Keep San Antonio Beautiful, and then with the River Foundation. So that was a donation pass through to actually fund the event, but never did any org take
ownership
control of it. And, the event grew, and around year 15, it was kind of at its height. And it's taken a bit of a downturn on turnout. And when we started RiverAid San Antonio in March 2021.
Were you a volunteer at Basura Bash?
Yes, me and John Hamilton, co-founder, went out with his dad when, we were in elementary or junior school for the first time. Ken Hamilton, shout out. The fathers helped with, instilling.
Volunteerism.
Yeah, for volunteerism, loving our environment. And, that's something that's been in San Antonio for 31 years. And it was a huge inspiration when we started RiverAid San Antonio. So it was very humbling when the planning organizer at the time, Sonia Jimenez, 4 years ago, came to me and said, "We are really impressed with what RiverAid San Antonio has done, taken this sentiment and made it year round.
Yeah.
Not just one day, but 30 to 40 cleanups a year."
Wow.
So she saw what I had already been thinking, is that Basura Bash needs a permanent home to stabilize and to get back to growth.
Yeah.
Right.
And during COVID, I think, we had taken a big hit, and we needed to revitalize the event, and we certainly did. We had a turnout of 1,700.
Wow.
The first year we had taken over or shadowed.
And what?
Now it's up to 2,130. And that's verified with physical signatures. So you're in the nonprofit world. We're missing some.
Yeah.
So it's actually probably a little bit above. So we're really, really proud of that. We're battling Houston for the largest in Texas.
Oh.
I like competition. I don't know if y'all do, but
you're a young whippersnapper.
We're gonna beat them out by a lot of metrics, or really by recovery metric. We are the biggest. We had 105,000 pounds in a single day last year.
Now that could be a double-edged sword, though. We have more trash here.
Yes, we have more trash, but the real punchline: any major city has an overwhelming amount of trash, way more than people could clean a single day. So what it really says is that we just have a very effective system at getting volunteers to the impact. And the one thing I will say about last year, 105,000 pounds, 2,100 volunteers, that's great. What's the best part? It was the best average pounds collected per volunteer. So our most efficient Basura Bash ever.
Okay.
And, this isn't, as I started saying, the sentiment or how Basura Bash is being run, it's still very much a coalition of organizations, city departments, solid waste, just the linchpin of this event.
Yeah.
If you know anything about how our city operates, you could have guessed. Parks and Recreations, Public Works, both county and city, and a lot of district involvement, and a lot of citizens representing the organizations. There's some just lifelong committed Basura Bashers running our sites. So it's
are you
still
sort of the wrangler of all of this?
We're the glue, and that's not just with Basura Bash, but when I started RiverAid San Antonio, what we really wanted to set out to do was be the conduit between all the people trying to protect the river of River City, because the sentiment was already there, right?
Yeah. It just wasn't organized.
It just wasn't organized. And for lack of a better word, I think we've done a great job at capitalizing on that energy, reinvigorating Basura Bash, getting the year-round programs, getting interest in more proactive solutions like nature-based, green infrastructure, lid features, treating our stormwater, which in years to come is going to be a way bigger facet of our organization. Those are the real solutions. That's how we get to our kids, our grandkids, to be able to wade and play in Salado Creek. And you're going to be hearing me in coming years talk a lot about that.
But step one is
mitigation, recovery of that trash. Always first and foremost, not recycling, which we do as much as we can, but our first step is recovery of that trash. And between Basura Bash and our year round, I don't have our end year date yet, but it's going to be above 250,000 1 year. To date, RiverAid's just under 700,000, excluding Basura Bash numbers.
Oh, wow.
Now Basura Bash is about to crack 2 million pounds in its 31st year on March 7th.
How do you wait? I mean, how do you know? I just out of curiosity, like, how do you measure that?
So solid waste for our Basura Bash, solid waste, again, echoing how big of a linchpin they are. They come and they collect 3 separate piles from each site, bag, trash, bulk, and then we have metal and tires, which are getting recycled. And they will take it all with big grappler trucks or roll-offs or rear loaders. Parks and Recreation, Public Works are hauling it to these consolidation sites, and at one cleanup, 12 hours later, we'll have a ticket in our hand for our year rounds. Now, Basura Bash takes about a week to get everything organized, minded. We have incorporated and unincorporated cities that are a part of this. We're really building this event to be more of a county-wide cleanup now. So we do have to wait a bit longer for Shirts to report, for Leon Valley to report, for Cibolo to report this year, a new addition. So it is still very much a grassroots effort, Shirts is doing their thing and we're helping them get volunteers, and we're so proud to just keep the ethos of, okay, we care, you care, who else cares? Who else can we get at this table?
People to do the work. I mean, it sounds like, you're a very young organization to have that level of volunteerism and people showing up. How did you make that happen?
The first answer, chronologically, Instagram. The power of social media was huge for us to get people outside of kind of our network. But nonprofit council, collaboration with other nonprofits was probably our secret sauce. Huge shout out to Gardopia Gardens. If y'all haven't had them on before, great organization. And Stephen Lucky, if you haven't ever been a member before, you should join.
Those are the shout outs I like.
Yeah.
But that was a secret sauce. One, being able to, I was a volunteer and then employee for a brief period before RiverAid took off with them. Learned a lot, but also, they opened up their community to us. The first meeting about the initial cleanup that would become RiverAid San Antonio happened at Gardopia Gardens. And it was, a group of friends who had formed from consistent volunteering at that org. And Gardopia embraced it. They treated it like it was their programming, really, initially. And between that and a couple really good business collaborative, Hash Vegan Eats, really good patrons. And to anyone, thinking about starting a nonprofit, great advice, I think, would be find businesses, or better yet, nonprofits with similar patrons or, service population target set, and that goes miles, because people.
But you did work for another nonprofit first to kind of get the lay of the land before you decided to start your own.
Really by accident.
Or did you go what?
I went to college, and I went to school for a history degree, and I still didn't really know what I was gonna do. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. I knew I didn't want to be a curator. So I took some time off, and I tried to, start businesses that were community minded and, for profit. Just at 25, I just didn't feel fulfilled with, the money being the target there. And I honestly had a endeavor go belly up. We were trying to build a community space that had 3 greenhouses, 8 acres of reclaimed nursery, and it went belly up. And that night I was on Facebook and saw a garden orientation invitation for Gardopia, and I said, this is the universe telling me.
Wow.
And since then, I can't tell you how many times the universe has tugged on my ear, or tugged on a board member's ear, or put us together with Chico Newman, who put us together with y'all.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been an incredible journey that really, you know, started with me just trying to figure out how I could do more for the world, really, while still living life, and it's a true
It's just always
privilege.
been in your, I'm sorry.
No. And we're going down the same
We
path.
haven't
And volunteering when you were younger, like you said with your dad. And
with my dad, with friends,
Yeah.
you know, families, always in my household, we were taught to think outside of the household. You know, both my sisters are social workers. They're the real heroes. So, you know,
so it's in the family.
Yeah, my parents raised us to think beyond ourselves. And for me, how you give back to the most people is taking care of our shared resources. Absolutely. And Gardopia ignited that spark. And, you know, 4.5 years later, we have a lot more people who are now looking to us for advice on how to grow a nonprofit. And, you know, it's an honor to have conversations like this, to talk about the journey, and hopefully someone can glean something from
someone
it.
could hear this and, you know, think to themselves that they can do this.
Yeah.
But I do think that you obviously, at the beginning of your career, you tried to start businesses. So you have an entrepreneurial spirit to you and a business mind, which I think, a lot of nonprofits, they don't think of the business side necessarily. They think with the heart first, which the heart is very important, and the mission obviously is the center stage. But I think having a business mind is also probably why you've been able to scale up and grow and be so successful from the get-go, and it being such a young organization.
Yeah, we've you know, we've been really careful at how we build, especially our finances. One thing I'm very proud of is our earned revenue streams. You know, providing services to the city of Laredo, services that are protecting their waterways, but it's fueling our mission statement. So
are
really,
these services that you all kind of created as a need?
yeah,
you saw that
with
need?
the help of Osprey Initiative, in Laredo, and our initial litter boom systems, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But first, I'll fully answer your question. You know, the need for cleanup in our waterways in San Antonio is something we've always kind of danced around, especially in recent years. We've spent a lot of money on the Greenway, over $250 million, but leadership has always known we could do more to protect it. And I don't think they really had a good idea of how to do that, because in the initial wave of investment in protecting our waterways after the Greenway, we tried some systems that failed. And so I think the city, for many years before RiverAid San Antonio came along, didn't see a real effective way other than just their staff time and mandates, which, if you're a Greenway user, you know, stops. And it actually stops, I believe, 4 yards from the trail. Forgive me if I'm getting that a little bit wrong. So we knew that they would embrace a solution. We became that solution in 2024 through the help of some Parks and Recreation employees during a conversation that a committee was having, trying to think about how we solve this problem. Someone said, well, what about RiverAid San Antonio? And we were able to secure a calendar or a monthly service at Woodlong Lake. And in 2024, it was looking a lot better. And all of a sudden, you know, that service stopped, and it's been looking rough. But the need was
Yeah.
created, the success was proven.
Yep.
So now there is an RFP out to clean 5 sites, huge news. Woodlawn Lake, Elmendorf Lake, Southside Lions, Miller's Pond, and Brackenridge Park. To do bi-monthly, twice a month at Brackenridge, Woodlawn, and Elmendorf, and Southside Lions and Millers as needed.
Okay.
We have high hopes that we're going to secure this, but we're just proud to have created the need, embrace the need, created
The framework to
the framework to say this is worth investing in,
and show that it works. What you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 2026, someone's going to be keeping our parks clean, and if they're not doing a good job, let someone know, because if they're not doing a good job, it's not us.
Yeah.
And we'd love to make sure that it's getting done right. We're hopeful for it, but getting back to the litter booms, as I led on, even if we don't get that contract, thanks to the Nancy Smith Hurd Foundation, and this is the first time I'm actually announcing this.
News here.
Breaking news. Biggest news to date for RiverAid San Antonio, pretty much unarguably. We have funding in place for 5 new litter boom systems. Now, these litter booms, they're devices that lay across the waterway and consolidate trash passively year-round. I'm sure you've seen them on Instagram. And
so it just makes your work a lot easier.
It makes our work a lot easier. And they were tried, a decade ago, but the technology just wasn't there yet. Like any new product, innovation needs to take place. And what was happening was we were losing the system as in high flow events, high rain events. But with very rudimentary innovation, just a simple weak point on one side. Now these booms, the Osprey Initiative litter booms, are designed to break free from that weak point and go to your service side bank in a heavy rain event. So we got a trial by fire this summer, set some records here, as we're all aware, in San Antonio, specifically on Salado Creek, when Bidle and Salado came together, and just a couple miles downstream, our booms did what they were supposed to do. They protected the investment. The weak point broke. We found it on the service side bank, and 2 days after the flood, just as the waters had receded, we had the litter boom reset. So it's a great technology, low cost, low maintenance, and provides year-round protection for a community and the downstream.
Yeah.
And, between getting these litter booms in place, the magnitude of Basura Bash, and the frequency of our year-round cleanup program, people who use the Greenway, people who live on Salado Creek and these other creeks in town, they're telling us it's made a huge difference. We don't have a spotless Greenway yet, and that would take some serious tax dollars on top of what we're doing. But what we're doing at RiverAid San Antonio is creating the possibility for a reality with these booms set, with the year-round, with Basura Bash, to have a Greenway state where it might not be spotless, but it's clean enough to where anybody who's walking that trail is going to see a sparse enough amount of trash where they could pick it up in a plastic bag, and then that mile that they walked is actually pristine.
Yeah.
Just that maintenance, just that light maintenance, not letting this grandfather garbage, legacy litter build up over sometimes decades before our programming started. I could tell you horror stories about Almost Basin.
Well, I saw you had some mud on your pants when you got here, and I was like,
and yes,
where were you this morning, Charlie? You were at Almost Basin.
This, it looks like Almost Basin, but it could be Elmendorf Lake. There's probably some of each on the shoes.
You probably need a car wash membership.
We have a power washer. That was one of the first equipment. We got to keep the boats clean.
Yeah. So how many staff do you have in the organization?
I'm happy to report we are growing, but currently it is just myself, executive director, and Julian Valencia, project coordinator. We are welcoming a new staff in the new year.
Okay.
I'm very, very excited.
Did you already hire them?
I'll give them a shout out. I think it's pretty much inked, so I'm hopeful that Victoria Gomez will be our third hire. And also for those services, of course, we're
Right.
using contractors when we can't use this two staff that we do have. So it's like every year since we started, it's a big growth year for us. This is our biggest year yet. And it's really exciting. I mean, five new booms, hopefully the biggest Basura Bash to date. We're aiming for 3,000 volunteers this year.
What's the easiest way just to get connected on your social if people want to get involved?
Yes. Great question. So we do post all our events on social media. That for most people is going to be the easiest way to stay up to date with us. And we have an email list that you get on if you just fill out our volunteer registration form, which can be found on our link tree or our link tree via Instagram or Facebook. And of course, if you go to our website, riveraidsanantonio.org, we'll have that form ready to go for you there.
It'd be fun to take my kid. We've done different volunteering. I've got 2 teenagers, so trying to get them, also thinking outside of themselves.
Yeah.
That's a little bit challenging, but we've done different types of volunteering over the years, but that would be something. I know that my kids are very passionate too about the environment. And during COVID, actually, just a quick story. We live in a neighborhood that has a lot of trees and wooded areas, and there's trash. But there's when it rains a lot, the creeks will flow, during that time. And we would during COVID when we were bored out of our mind, I'd go get a trash bag. Let's go pick up trash, and they liked doing it. It's something I think kids understand that concept.
I think it's a form of volunteerism that can speak to a child's heart. It feels less regimented than
you're also in nature.
Others,
cleaning.
You're in nature. You see immediate gratification. You pick up a piece of trash off the ground and
that's the big thing. You're not wondering, Mom, Dad, what did we even accomplish? What did we do? You're looking at the huge pile of trash, several thousand pounds of trash. Or you're looking at, the several hundred yards of creek and greenway that are now spotless. Thanks.
So you the call for volunteers and whatnot. Do you all? I mean, I don't think you have to train people to pick up trash, but is there some sort of volunteer, orientation or coordination that clearly you have to do?
Yeah. So each site's different. So we do have boilerplate, safety training very quick at the beginning of our events, and also rolling as you check in. And then there's site specific stuff, which kind of is the more important because everyone knows what sharp glass can do, but not everyone knows that, there's a, area where there's divot holes and, you could roll your ankle really, really good. And being on the greenway, field medicine, we'd like to avoid. So safety talk always, but, we try and keep the training minimal for our volunteers. Now, what we focus on is having consistent volunteers that are formally trained to be field captains. So they're people who are in the field. They're not looking down here picking up trash. They're keeping their eyes, making sure that everyone's operating like they should be. And it's really, again, we only have 2 staff, but there are so many people that are operating like this is their mission. I mean, like this is their responsibility, and I can't, shout them all out, but they're
very engaged, obviously.
They're unwavering. I mean, it's the only way that, the consistency of our events nearly weekly could only be sustained with our volunteer field captains. So, getting those folks trained who, and speaking of training, these are also the individuals that are our water quality monitors. Another aspect of our programming is actually monitoring what's going on with our water, pH, dissolved oxygen, observational. And that is given to Texas Stream Team and can inform, decisions from the River Authority to Texas State, to the EPA getting that data and using it. It is citizen scientist data, so it's not, it's only used as a fallback, but each year it's used.
It's still data.
It's still used each year, and we've been really happy to be embraced by Texas Stream Team. They just got us some new kits, and we're looking to do more trainings for our water quality monitoring. We've partnered with Brackenridge Park Conservancy on that. They have a gorgeous, riverfront that's perfect for going out there on the low water zoo crossing and teaching people how to be watchdogs for our waterways. And we hope to create more citizen scientists, not just through our water quality monitoring, but also through what we were talking about briefly earlier, which nature-based solutions, rain gardens, bioswells, things that can clean our water as it moves, not us cleaning the water once it's in the creek and has a bunch of trash mixed in with it. So, huge shout out to everyone who's helped this org get to this point. And I think by the end of 2026, all our programs will, have the shine to it that our trash cleanup program has, because there's so much more to caring for your river than just keeping the trash out of it. It is just unfortunate because it has to be the first thing we solve because it's that bad.
But that's just getting people in the door and then educating.
It's absolutely getting people in the door. We've always been very aware, even from an early day, that this might not be what we feel like we need to be working on to implement the solution to protect our river, but this is how we get people return on their energy, get people invested, get people educated, and build the plans to do something ambitious like target a half-mile stretch of Salado Creek and implement enough nature-based solutions to actually bring down E. coli and bacterial counts. And it can be done. It's going to take investment. It's going to take a pilot to prove it.
We got the energy and the passion, so that's for sure.
And every month, nearly every cleanup, we get more people with more energy.
Good.
So it's been fantastic.
Well, congratulations on the growth, and clearly, big things are coming.
I have one random question before we wrap this up. What's the weirdest thing you found? Acquiring minds want to know.
Weirdest thing I found. Now,
coolest thing or most unusual, maybe.
Coolest thing. I'll do three. The weirdest thing, definitely blood vials. Weirdest consistent thing. I would say very often we find blood vials on the north part of town. We're really not sure why. So that's just a mystery one. But one of my favorite things I've found is a leather office chair, which I'm working on restoring for my office.
That's very normal.
And most fun thing though, gotta be championship Golden Gloves boxing belt.
Oh my God.
Which one of our field captains does have in his home displayed somewhere.
Wow.
So come down to RiverAid and get yourself a trophy that you didn't earn.
Oh, well, it was a pleasure having you on, and
a lot of fun
learning about I didn't really know all the facets of what you do, and so that's why we have this podcast, so we can hear about that and how you got there. And
thank you also for being a member of the Nonprofit Council.
Oh,
it means a lot to us.
Thank you for welcoming me, and it's been great sharing my knowledge and getting a lot more knowledge in return.
Well, thanks. Everybody, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on TNC Talks Non-Profit.